Today and in the next few videos, I would like to share some little stories about the experiences I go through in my work as an addiction physician in a rehabilitation center. And through these stories, we can pick some thematic points that can be of educational value to all of us as viewers of Dr. BMS. In my work, I receive people coming in with mental health problems, mainly emanating from abusing drugs of addiction. Alcohol tops. We also have marijuana coming up very, very fast. We have cigarettes. We have got prescription drugs like amphetamines, sedatives like Valium and the others. We have got some stimulants like Mira, Cat. We are also starting to see people who come in with injection of drugs of addiction. We have people who use heroin. We have people who use cocaine, injected or snorted. We have people who even use classical hospital medication, which they steal or misappropriate and inject, like pethidine and the others. All these drugs of addiction, what they do is that they stimulate you in the brain. They make you feel very excited. We call that euphoria. And that's what most of the users do want to get from them. But they have their side effects, like we've talked in many videos, including addiction. So these are the people who are brought in. Most of these are young people in their 20s, college students, university students. We also get some elderly ones. There are not many, but we get them as well. And the common thing, which is a story I would like to say today, is that they are most of the times brought in unwillingly. They are forced into the rehabilitation center, into the mental health hospital by their families, their employers, or sometimes by courts of law in order to avoid a jail sentence because they have broken the law. And so they come in kicking and screaming, as we may say, and we admit them. They are complaining, they kick a storm with their families, sometimes with us as therapists, but eventually they get admitted and the process goes on until they're okay to leave the center. What I would like to share today, the story I'd like to share, is a common thread, a common saying that most of these people come with. They tell their family members that you're wasting your money. These people, that is Dr. BMS and my colleagues at work, these people are just interested in money. These are business people. They just want you to pay money. So you're wasting your money. Instead of paying all this money, if you could let me go home, I promise I'll change. I have recognized my mistake. I will change. I'll go back to school. I'll be a good person. Some others say, you're wasting your money because you hate me and you want to punish me, and I'm not to blame. You're the ones who have forced me into this situation. So if you want to waste your money, just go ahead. I will stay here for as long as you want. But as soon as I leave, I'll drink even more. I'll smoke, I'll do everything I want to do because it's my life and you can't control my life. So if you want to waste your money, you go ahead and waste your money. I don't care. So that's a common story we get, and others which I'll share in subsequent videos. And so if you visit our center, Fountain of Hope Treatment Center in Chokimau, you will see we've written on the walls as you go around some writings that address some of these common misconceptions or statements that are put forward by mainly patients with an aim of making their families change their mind. And one of it is that addiction rehabilitation does not waste your money. It is the addiction itself which, in fact, wastes your money. And we wrote this as a response so that when families can read this as they pass around, then they can be strengthened to resist this manipulation, this blackmail coming from their loved ones at that critical time they're coming in. Because sad as it is, some families succumb to this and tell us, now I think if he's unwilling and he feels like we're just wasting our money, he will leave and go back and do the same things. Maybe we should just let him go home. We should not put him here against his will. I've made a previous video on Dr. BMS that I was discussing, can an unwilling person benefit from rehabilitation? And I said in summary, yes, they do, because most of the people in addiction have lost sense of judgment. They are not able to rationally judge that what they're doing is not right. And so if you depend on them to make that decision, it's like you're asking a blind person to lead you, you will go nowhere. So we write these statements to try and strengthen the resolve of the family that action has to be taken. And so when these people say you are wasting your money by bringing me here, the question then is, does addiction rehabilitation waste your money? I would say no, it doesn't. It is the addiction that wastes your money. And to put this point further across to the families and the patients as we go on through the therapy, we invite them to do a little exercise we call the cost of addiction. How much does it cost you to become addicted? So in this exercise, we invite the patients who are in rehabilitation to self-declare, and we give them a piece of paper, we guide them to write a cost, to attach a cost to each of those declarations they make about their old ways of addiction. So, for example, you've been drinking, you've been smoking marijuana, doing all those sorts of things, and you've been addicted for the last 5 years, so we say. So we say 5 years. What have you been taking? Alcohol. What kind of alcohol do you take? I take whiskey. Which kind of whiskey do you take? Johnny Walker. How much is how much Johnny Walker do you take? I can take a Mzinga, that's a whole bottle of 750 ml, or half a bottle, maybe 300 ml, good. How much does it cost? A bottle probably costs 4,000 shillings. How often do you take? I think at that time some of them are feeling macho and they feel like when they say they take a lot, then they're real men or really strong people. I can take a bottle in a sitting, eh? Yeah, and how often? Every day? Yeah, even every day, every other day. So on average, you can take a bottle of whiskey, John Walker, 4 bottles a week. And this has been going on for the last 1 year, 2 years. So let's calculate each bottle 4,000 shillings, 4 times a week, 52 weeks a year, 5 years, you come to a figure. Then we say, when you are taking, what else do you do? Are you with friends? Yes. Do you buy them some drinks? Yes, I buy them. They buy me as well. How much can you spend on your friends? You say, what else do you do? In our Kenyan culture, you drink alcohol as you take nyama choma, and maybe you engage in betting, sport pesa, you want to win something. So how much nyama choma can you take per sitting? When I'm alone, a kilo, half a kilo. When I'm with friends, even 4 kilos. How much? You calculate. If you're betting, how much? You calculate. And we start bringing in the incidental costs which some of these users may not have taken into consideration. Okay. As you're taking that drink, you are probably missing on some deadline that you had to meet to do with your business. So you lose that customer because you do not fulfill that deadline they had. So you lose that. We ask you and we ascribe a cost to what you've lost, opportunities that are lost. In the process, as you left the pub, you are arrested for drink driving, violating curfew hours, or drinking hours and to the rules. You have to pay your way. The police or the court system had something. When you got home, probably you are not in good terms with your wife. Maybe she left you, she went back to her parents. You had to travel there and try to get her back. How much did you spend? So all these incidental costs, we add them as they reveal their drinking life until we reach a figure. And most of the time, this exercise makes people go, wow, you mean you saying, doctor, that I have spent 5 million Kenyan shillings over the last 3 years drinking? And we tell them, but it's your calculation. Look at it again. You want to refine it? So then that brings a new realization that addiction is very, very expensive. And if we are doing this exercise and bringing in the family members or with people who are resistant, then we may extend and tell them, this is the cost of your rehabilitation. On average, you will stay in a rehabilitation center like ours for about 3 months, 90 days, and each month you will be paying roughly 100,000 to cover Kenyan shillings to cover all the things. So probably you're talking about 300,000, maybe a little bit more if you have other problems like liver disease, health problems for which we are treating you and we are billing you as well. So then we tell you, now compare this, the money you have, an addiction problem, a drinking problem, which by your calculation has cost you 5 million the last 10 years. That is on average 500,000 a year. And on the other side, you have a treatment that is costing you 350,000 shillings. And can you compare? You can't compare. Let's talk about time. You have spent the last 5 years literally drinking your life away, missing on opportunities, stagnating, sometimes regressing in your socio-economic development. You've lost a job, you've lost your family, sometimes you've been injured, your health is poor. All these are losses. Some of them we can't quantify them in money terms. And this has gone on for 5 years, for 2 years, for 10 years, and compare that with 3 months or 6 months of treatment. Do they compare? They don't compare. We always come to a conclusion with them that addiction rehabilitation, treating an addiction, is much cheaper than sustaining an addiction. Some of them may be feeling embarrassed by this new realization and in a bit of denial may say, no, but you can see that the message is sinking in that what they were engaging in, the addiction, is far much expensive and detrimental to their life and their well-being than the addiction. So a little resistance, a little drama that usually starts as admission, you resisting and trying to blackmail your parents to get you out of rehabilitation because you want to make them believe that they are wasting their money. then translates into a tool that we use to make you aware that you have to change your way. And this is what we call psychoeducation. In Kenyan parlance, kuchanua, tunakuchanua, we make you aware that this cannot go on as normal and you have to change, otherwise you will perish. And fortunately for us and for everyone, it almost always ends on a happy note. Most of these people in rehabilitation get won over. They accept that there was a problem. They commit themselves to changing their ways, and that is the rehabilitation. And now it's easy for us to give them the tools to help them see how they can do it and to work with their families to support them so that when they leave the rehabilitation center, they are much stronger and more prepared to stay on the new path of sobriety and become good citizens, reformed people who are no longer abusing drugs of addiction. So, addiction rehabilitation does not waste your money. It is the addiction that does waste your money, your life, your opportunities. See you in the next short story from Dr. PMS Day at the Rehabilitation Center.